Hello, good morning, good afternoon. It's my great pleasure and my honor to be with you, albeit virtually, for the Chile Green Building Week. And I have the great honor to speak a little bit about the call to action and why it's so important and what we can do. As you may know, we are facing a massive increase in floor area in housing due to rapid urbanization and housing needs. And the equivalent of Paris is added in floor space every 5 days. I am incidentally coming to you from Paris. At the same time, the buildings and construction sector is one of the most cost-effective mitigation sectors that we have. And co-benefits include job creation more actually than investing in many other sectors, such as renewable energy. Despite these facts and figures, we see that this sector is still responsible for around 37% of emissions and 36% of final energy demand. It is important to underline that a lot of that energy demand is being met through fossil fuels. And moving away from fossil fuels, building the energy transition hinges on the buildings and construction sector. But we do see action. This is the good news. We do see action and we do see progress. What you see here is a comparison of the years 2015 and 2021. Just a few highlights. We see a massive increase of countries that include buildings in their NDCs, their nationally determined contributions, an increase of almost 55%. And we see an increase of 30% of countries that now have building energy codes in place, as well as a massive increase in investment. That is great news. And that shows that action is being taken. But this action is not enough. We are not going fast enough. We need much more action of what I just said, but also other things, and I'll allude to that in a moment. What you see here on the left is where we need to be in 2050 to achieve a zero carbon building stock. And if you zoom in, you can see that if we ignored the fact that we had a very strange year in 2020 due to the COVID-19 impacts, it looks as though we are on track. But if we calculate that out, we are actually very far away from that goal. So despite progress, despite action, we need to move much faster together. And one of the things that is really key is what you see here, having building codes in place. Actually, despite the increase in countries with those codes in place, we only have really a minority of countries that have mandatory building codes for the entire sector, and this is what we need to change. If there's one pillar where we need to act very fast in terms of policies, it is that one, because it impacts the entire value chain of the buildings and construction sector. One other thing that we can do where we can take action and where indeed action is being taken is forging roadmaps, building decarbonization and resilience roadmaps together with all stakeholders, making sure that everybody is on board from the start, transforming the sector through effective urban planning, through how we design our new buildings, how we refurbish our existing buildings, how we handle our building operations, what type of appliances we use, what type of materials we use, and how much. How resilient we make our buildings for a future climate, because buildings today are built often for today's climate, but they will have to face a very different one in 2070, for example. And last but certainly not least, clean energy. Now, the great thing is that this is already happening in many parts of the world. And here you see a snapshot. It might not include all existing roadmaps, but many countries in the world and many organizations, many of our members are taking this forward. And with that, I'd like to close. I'd like to thank you, and a strong call to action from the Global Alliance for Buildings and Construction, coming to you from Paris, hosted by UNEP. We think it's fantastic what you're doing. Green buildings are the future, so let's go and do it together.